So to just for people who are not familiar with what Early Bird does, uh, I'll just give you a quick insight on that. So Early Bird is a not-for-profit initiative, and we work with the mission to make birds and bird watching So we have a lot of material such as pocket guides, bird posters, and flashcards, which can be used as different in innovative ways through games and through interactive activities, and in 10 different regional languages as well. So through training, this we do is for the nature educators and teachers who can then use this content to better engage with children. And with outreach, there we have outreach activities such as the Young Birders Network that directly connects with children and conducts workshops and nature trails. And we've the webinar series is basically, it was started last year, and we've restarted it this year, and this is the third session in the series for the 2023 version. And this basically around birds and bird watching. This particular for this year's series, the focus is largely on the nuts and bolts of nature education and discussing different challenges. And hence, this time we have a session on inclusivity in birds, and we have Subsecretary Anand Pendharkar and Aarti Yadav, who have worked in this field and how have experiences. So we'll have a lot of, you can ask questions. This will be like an interactive, we want this to be an interactive session. So feel free to drop in your questions in the chat box, and we can also take it in between the sessions, or else at the very end, where we'll have like a proper Q&A. So this session would be moderated by Abhishek, who's one of, we also have Garima and Varsha from the Early Bird team who have joined the session. So yeah, over to you, Abhishek.
Thank you, Amrita. Good morning, Aarti, Anand, Sapta, and all the nature enthusiasts, nature educators, and special educators who've joined us today. It's really wonderful to have you all today. Thank you for joining in. Without further delay, I would like to request all the three panelists today, if you can share a bit about your outreach work with the differently abled.
Abhisheka, would you like to start first?
Yeah, Aarti, would you like to go first? I've unmuted you.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Good morning. This is Aarti, special educator. And like I used to work with children and persons with disability. And throughout, I work with a different organization and schools. Recently, I started my journey with the schools. Earlier, I used to work with the organization only, and who NGOs who work for children with disability. So throughout the experience, like working with NGOs, I got a chance to work as an outreach worker as well. So we went Karnal and Gorakhpur, where we have to done assessment for children with disability. So we used to find out the resources like that is a low cost. So we used to prefer nature because our nature is all us with colors, textures, smells, and all the things that we want to teach our children. So whenever we do the assessment, we want to give any kind of a learning. So we just focus see what are the things around us. Like we have a trees. So if I want to teach a child colors, so we'll take the flowers and leaves so that they can understand, connect with the green color with the leaves and other smell and texture. So we overall focus like with the texture and with the nature also. So that is the outreach work. And also we need to focus while outreach work like families conditions also like low cost we always prefer because everybody is not like that much rich. They can get they can buy all kind of a learning material that is required for teaching our children. So that is why we focus on nature learning and involve all kind of things. Yeah.
Thank you, Aarti. Anand, would you like to go next?
Hello.
Yeah, audible.
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Sorry, I had blinked actually. You asked me to speak or Sapna
Yes,
is speaking?
yes, Anand. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So good morning, everyone. And I'm Anand Pendharkar. I'm by training, I'm a wildlife biologist and ecologist. And I work Sprouts, which is my organization. Since 1995, we've been working with people across sectors. We work in urban areas with urban poor. We work in rural areas. We also work in what is called as the urban, which is the poor, like rural-like people in the urban areas. We work with tribal children and we work with teachers. So here you can see, some of our sessions can be like in a very small slum house also, or it could be in a large conference hall and training room. And we use various kinds of languages and materials and media to work with our audiences. So it depends on what the audience is, we modify our work. The only thing that we focus on is that all our nature and environment education is positive education. We are very clear that we don't want to do any negative environment and nature-based education. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Anand. Sapta.
Hi, good morning all. Myself 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗂𝗁. Basically, I've done my master's in environmental science, but however, I've working in government setup as an senior auditor in the Accountant General Office, which we do auditing, nowhere connected to my subject, what I did, but bread and butter, you need to find some way. But the passion for wildlife is on all the time. And over the weekends, I work with a lot of schools and kids and also various walks of life, people from various walks of life. So we have a small organization called the Aranya Outreach. And the main objective of our organization is to sensitize people from various walks of life and preferably the younger generations to bring them close to nature. I would prefer to take them on field rather than the indoor sessions, though indoor sessions are important, but I prefer to take them on field. And that is where the kids actually open up. And even in the urban setup, as we all know, the kids are stuck to the television, the phones, and various other games online. The only way to get them out of these things are getting them on the field and get them feel the first-hand experience of nature so that connects very easily. So in the process, we've also worked with different abled people, and that way the challenges which were thrown on us, which we were not prepared, but over a period of time, we have learned, we have evolved. And now I can say that to some extent, we are in a stage wherein we can consider these challenged people as also one among the commons. And this is a fantastic stage where budding buddies have given us so that we can open up on these issues and learn from the other panelists and also probably the participants who have worked with them. So this is a place where we can really look further to improvise on what we have learned through our experiences. So I'm happy to be here and share my thoughts on these. Thank you.
Thank you. We really look forward to hearing more about all your work in today's session as we continue discussing. Sapta, since you ended, I would like to ask you to, ask you the next question. Can you share some, success stories or memorable moments where individuals with special needs that you worked with actually enjoyed the bird watching sessions or outings that you conducted? What do you think were the key factors that contributed to their positive experience?
Abhishek, here I would like to bring in two of my experiences. One was the experience which we conducted in-house, like we were doing an insect exhibition in Natural History Museum, and it was open for public, and it was a 2-day program, and a lot of thousands of people came and visited the thing. And in between, we met a few people who approached us and said that they are from a visually challenged organization, and requested us to if they can get their children and how we can go about it. And that spontaneous moment, what we said was, okay, fine, we were just ready to do that. And we were actually not prepared. That was the first experience. We were taking up the visually challenged people to teach them about the insects or nature, whatever it is. So then we had to prepare ourselves. The homework is very, very important when we are addressing certain set of people. So we had to see how to go about it. We can't just tell them, okay, this is that. The things is we need to let them experience it. So we had to collect a few set of probably unused insect boxes wherein a bit of broken or something which were not displayed. So we collected all those things, kept it separate, specially made a table for them. And the next day, these kids come in. So there were around 15 of them who came in, and we tried to explain them. The basic thing was we just told them the differences between the butterflies and the moths. We're trying to explain them, and we also let them feel the butterflies, feel the moths. And you won't believe, at the end of the day, the teacher said, we'll have a small test kind of a thing wherein you keep 5 butterflies and 5 moths and let the kids explore, and let's see how much they've understood or how they can differentiate. Basically, if they can differentiate, that's the biggest thing, they can do it. So, and you won't believe, out of the 15, 13 were successfully identify 4 butterflies and 4 moths, differentiate those things. So that was an eye-opener for us. Like, we generally sit back and think, okay, how to go about it, whether really they do understand or not, because we are not directly involved with them. But once this happened, our confidence boosted, and I was very sure we can do it further. So that was the base for our work, to work with special kids. So on later stages, we have taken kids with the visually impaired to bird walks. And one of the most interesting experiences I had was, there is a school for visually challenged in Mysore, Rangarao Memorial School for visually challenged. These are all girls' school. So, and it is taken care by the Rangarao Sons group. And they approached us if we can do a birding session for them. And we agreed, so we'll do that. But they also said that they want them to take to a national park. So that was another challenge, So taking the kids to the national park and all. So what I feel is, as educators and taking up such challenges, we need to do the preparation properly. The homework should be very clear. So we had to go there. We had to do a recce trip. Me and my friends, we went there. We planned things. We saw where we can take these kids, where we need to stop, where we need to do what. So then we came back. Then we had to prepare a story. I actually prepared a storyline for them, like audio storyline, completely using all the sounds. Right from the school they exit, the highway they hit, then they are entering the forest. So it was all sound based. So I went on explaining it to them as to how they'll be moving across the traverse through the whole journey, and how they enter the forest. What would be the difference from a forest and the urban setup? So the calls of the birds, the roar of a tiger, then the elephants, like that. So that homework we did very well. And then we took them to the national park and they really enjoyed. And the number of birds they identified by the calls was amazing. Some of the common birds like the peacock, the serpent eagle, the babblers and all. So we don't have to hesitate at any point of time to take these visually challenged or any challenged kids. The only thing is we need to be prepared for it. So the preparation is the basic thing here. You just can't walk into area and teach these kids. If we can prepare ourselves better, the more better they'll be. The positive thing here is the kids are very, very smart. We can't underestimate these kids. They are very, very sharp. Though they have one weakness, like the visually they are not strong as we are, but they can sensitize everything. Their other organs are very open and they're very sensuous, and they'll understand what we see, and they'll also probably feel what they see, and that you can receive it by their interaction, the way they explain things. And one small thing I would tell you here and finish it off. The thing is, I was sitting next to a girl in a safari van, and we had reached early morning. And after some time, this girl tells me, "Okay, sir, I think the sun has come out completely now." I mean, I was like, she was completely blind. We have different grades of visual impairments in kids. Some are completely blind throughout their lives and partially blind like that. This girl was completely blind from a young age. So when she said, I was taken aback for a second. I couldn't really think, how did she realize it was completely bright? And all she said was, "Okay, I can feel the sun on my hand." So this is the way these kids are. They are very, very sensitive. So we have to be open for them, and we have to take them as commons and make use to these things. They'll definitely come out with flying colors. Thank you.
Thanks, Sapta, for sharing these wonderful stories with us. Aarti, you regularly interact with children with special needs, so I'm sure you have a lot of stories to share. Is there any such memorable incident that you can share with us? Aarti, you're on mute.
Okay. So yes, there's a story of like a group activity that we planned with children with special needs, and all our children all the children are like who are drop out from a school. Like they used to go school, but a school done nothing with them, so they automatically drop out after 9th standard. And they stay actually in urban slum community in Delhi, where they already have a lack of resources, because there's a perception like we only limited children, they only learn functional academic. We don't give an opportunity to them to like plan a heritage education or nature walk like this. So I got opportunity to plan a nature walk in 2019 in the life skills program. So first, whatever I did, first I actually plan a online session with the children, so that I give them pictures of trees, flowers, leaves. And I asked them, when we go to that 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗀𝗃𝗃 garden, you have to match these pictures with the tree, whatever you see. And next day, आपको वो cards मुझे दिखाने हैं कि मैम मैंने ये pictures वहाँ देखी थी और यहाँ ऐसा tree देखा था, so that they can identify trees. Because with whom children I work, they have a lack of resources. They don't know actually the trees name and flowers name, because we don't even plan like these things. So when I take them for the nature education, and they not only my focus was not that's just nature. My focus that overall development of the children. Like during the group activity, I just pair up them with two children. Like one pair have a flowers and one pair have leaves. So they just do a group activity. They can try to interact with them because they have a very limited activity where they interact each other also. We normally ignore like the people can be a friend. Like I work with an intellectual disability also, where people already have an idea, like they plan, they like एक IP होती है जो हम बनाते हैं, individual education plan. Or if you ever see any education plan, you will not find there's no nature education, there's no heritage education. They only focus ADL skills, behavior skills, behavior modification. So like we have, as an educator, we should involve all these things, because like, education never happen in a classroom only. It's all about your nature, all about your surroundings, all about your opportunity. Like आप कैसे इनको access करने के लिए opportunity दे रहे हो. we want inclusion, but somewhere down the line we have like exclusion in our mind. Like when child go to the school, we already like when children with disability come to the school, basically for the intellectual disability, other disability, teachers have an idea that they will learn like this, and normally they ignore like children. They don't get even opportunity for like other children get it. Like one of my students who's going to school till 9th standard, and people used to bully him, or due to this his confidence very low, so his mother's automatically drop him out from the school, and she come to me like at ASTA, like for enroll him from ASTA organization. And I the thing guys, when we involve with other children, and his confidence level also increased, because my priority is to involve him as a leader in all activities. If I give a chance to child with disability as a leader, they definitely have all this quality will inbuilt. Like I give before the session, I always ask like, एक होता है कि I plan my session like in the heritage education nature walk, we will learn all these things. And then next I ask, what do you feel in a group activity? What do you want to see, and what do you want to like in like explore yourself? So one of the child asked me, ma'am, can I get your phone to click some pictures? Because they already उनको पता है, वो हमेशा मुझे देखते थे pictures click करते हुए, and they see कि मैं कैसे click कर रही हूँ. So they asked, ma'am, can I get your phone to click certain pictures? And they really click very well pictures. And the group activity is the first activity for them. They get a chance for nature walk. Earlier, they never ever get this chance to walk here. कभी के focus ही नहीं करा कि हमें trees को identify करवाना है, हमें flowers को identify कराना है, हमें कभी green leaves को identify कराना है. They never get chance like this. So first time they get chance. और कार्ड मैचिंग जो एक्टिविटी थी, एक जो कार्ड मैचिंग हमने उनको ग्रुप सेशन में दिया था, पहले ही प्रिपरेशन की थी जो सेशन की, तो वहां पे वो जाके मैच कर रहे हो, ट्राई टू फाइंड दिस ट्री एंड दीज वर्ड्स कहाँ मिलेंगे हमें. तो वो एक था कि आप थिंकिंग प्रोसेस चल रहा है, आपकी क्रिएटिव थिंकिंग कहीं ना कहीं मैच हो रही है, प्लस आप अपने फ्रेंड से बात कर रहे हो, तो वो एक कम्युनिकेशन भी बिल्ड हो रहा है, प्लस एक फ्रेंडशिप भी बिल्ड हो रही है. तो 3-5 skills are automatically built, which is not just from your IP, like सब वो आपकी ADL से नहीं, वो overall development, because they have to be a part of the society and community. यहाँ पे बहुत सारी चीजें, बहुत सारे skills हमें सिर्फ academic नहीं, other भी चाहिए होते हैं. So this is my experience for one experience like that.
That's really so lovely, Aarti. Coming to you, Anand, I know you have many years of experience in nature education, as well as, you have also engaged with children with various challenges. So we really look forward to hearing your story.
I agree with Aarti about this buddy system that is there. That learning, even in kids who are who don't have, or we believe don't have challenges. As a teacher, I started my career in Doon School teaching environmental sciences, and I saw that automatically your friends, the boy or girl who sits next to you on the desk tends to help you with something. Sometimes you can't understand the spelling, or you can't pick things up, so one does tend to have buddy system. And then if for 4 years you were sitting on a bench with someone, and that person in the 9th or 10th standard gets shifted to another class, that that changes. You start feeling missing that. But I'd like to share one experience, very special thing that had happened with us, which actually started me off on the journey to understand that we need to be prepared to accept people with learning or physical challenges as a part of our nature education and conservation system. We had organized a volunteer training program in Bombay, and we had a whole bunch of participants who had been enrolled. And one of them, we had the introduction session. So they were supposed to sit in pairs. We made chits, and they were supposed to sit in pairs and introduce each other. And this 16-18-year-old boy, he nodded his head and said no. So we went to him and he's like, please, like you have to, this is the introduction session, you have to do it. And he said no. And then we said, okay, no, he's come for a volunteer training program. How do we go ahead if he's saying, no, I'm not going to do this? And we wondered what did we do wrong? And then suddenly one girl came to us and she said, see, that is actually my cousin. And he's come from Ahmedabad. He's deaf. And the problem is that the instructions were, we had projected the instructions and they were in English, and we'd spoken them also, again in English. So she said he studied in Gujarati medium, and he can understand sign language, he can lip read Gujarati. So is it okay if I become his partner? I'll be able to explain him what the activity is, and he'll be able to lip read me, and then we'll be able to do it. Now here we realize that, wow, we were prepared for, in whatever, but we'd not thought of language as a medium of challenge for somebody. Second thing is that there's buddy system that Aarti mentioned, that, like this girl, cousin, she already was a sort of supporter, or, she could give him comfort and make him feel at ease. And she facilitated that process. So a good facilitator can really make a big difference for a learner. That is one thing. So, familiar people or people who keep on going again and again to the same group. If if I've gone to a certain organization and I go third time, fourth time over, they feel that comfort and their learning gets facilitated well. And after she started helping him, but in the meanwhile, we immediately started to work and type in Gujarati. That these were pre-Google times, so luckily we knew a bit of Gujarati and could type it and speak also the language. We then facilitated, and then the volunteer did very well with us. So that was one story. Second was a situation where I used to teach at Jodhpur. I used to teach an MBA course over there. And they used to support a school called Manakla School, where there were children with polio. They were, disabled from their chest below. They used to literally crawl on the ground. Some of them had crutches or some of them were on wheelchairs. But many of the young kids who would come in, they were yet not operated. And to move from one place to the other, they had to literally crawl. They had to drag their body. The polio was so severe. So when I went there, I was like, oh my God, poor children, they can't run, they can't play. So I told that to the teacher and he's like, oh, you are completely mistaken. These children, they run, they play, they do so many things. So I did a talk on nature, on birds, on butterflies and everything. And I said, oh, you should create a butterfly garden. You should plant these plants. And in summers, you should keep up a pan of water for the birds to drink. And after all that, I asked them, now, who's going to join my activity? Who's going to, do all these things? And all the kids put their hands up. And there was a 5-year-old girl. She put her hand up and said, I like the butterflies. And my father is a farmer. I'm going to tell him to plant 1/2 acre of marigold for the butterflies. And I was like, wow, so nice. Then another kid, he put his hand up and he said, look at my hand. My entire body is full of boils. It becomes 47 degrees Celsius in Jaisalmer, Jodhpur, this area. So for my own sake, I'm going to plant trees and I'm going to keep plants, these pots. My father's a potter and I'm going to ask him to make, pots of pans of water. So after all this, I felt very good that, I had communicated something. But I didn't go, for whatever reason, I couldn't go to their school for 3 years. And after 3 years, when these kids met me, they said, you didn't come and see what we've done. You just left the idea and you didn't come back. So as an educator, you need to go back also. So after 3 years, when I went back, they had planted more than 5,500 trees and climbers and shrubs and, herbs. And I was amazed. And then the teacher showed me the area that was full of thorns. So these kids used to line up and they used to pass pails of water because they can't stand. So they used to pass pails of water and water the plants. And when they were to make a hospital for these children, they did a dharna and said, no, you can't cut our trees. You can't transplant them. You have to protect them. So then I realized that the thought of disability is in my mind. When I don't go for a program and make up an excuse and say, hey, I'm tired, I'm busy, I'm outside. I'm creating a barrier in my mind. These kids had no barrier in their mind. They were surely abled in their mind. So it is for us as educators, as Sapta also mentioned, that we have to believe that they can learn birds, they can learn butterflies, they can learn trees, they can experience. We have to make that experience possible for them. So I think, that is something that as an educator, I realize that I have to change my methods, make multimodal systems, make it available. They will, if they can't see birds, they can hear birds. So maybe, apps with sounds, or if you can smell, make them smell flowers or leaves, feel the texture. So use other media that is there. And also one quick last thing I'd like to say, that sometimes you have to realize that there are multiple disabilities. One person may not have one disability. For example, English could be a disability. I don't know English, or I don't know a specific language. That could be a disability. So then, having material in Tamil, Gujarati, Malayalam, what eBird is doing is a fantastic thing, that these materials can be available in regional languages. And that becomes a facilitating factor. So creating multimodal materials is very important. Yeah, so this was my sort of mind opening as an educator to think that now I should facilitate it for everybody.
Thanks, Anand. I can very well connect to both the stories that you mentioned, because one is talking about buddy system. I mean, I recently this year had an experience where I was engaging with a government school in a very remote area in Karnataka. And because it was a village government school, there are no special schools out there. And there was this girl who couldn't hear in the class. So the first session I was, interacting with them, she wouldn't respond to me, and then her friends told me that she can't hear. But the way they just didn't exclude her, the way they were, whatever I was telling in the class, they in their own way trying to explain to her. It's not like they knew sign language or anything, but they just made sure that she understood everything, and she did. And again, like you said, it's this hesitation, like, okay, for me again at that moment I was like, okay, how am I going to engage this girl in the class? I would want her to be included, but just making this simple attempts, I would like use, in my own way, try to tell her what to do and give her a lot of drawings. And now I see that she's so excited whenever she sees me, she wants to do more, and she's showing her classmates. I definitely agree that it's the barrier is within us. If we can make that simple effort to step out and just engage. Yeah, thanks. Thanks all for these wonderful stories. Before I move on to ask further questions, I would like to inform everybody who's present here that, like Amrita had mentioned in the beginning, that we want to keep this session interactive. I believe that many of you present here may have experience engaging with the differently abled. So we welcome questions as well as sharings. So if you have a question, please type it in the chat box. And also, if you have any useful information to add to the conversation based on your own experience, please, you can just, use the raise hands option, and we will unmute you and you can share it with the rest of us. But one request is to keep your sharings a bit brief, because given our limited time we have on hand, we would, like to give an opportunity to many of us here to share. So coming back to you, Anand, Aarti, and Sapta. So I understand, yes, working with differently abled itself is a bit challenging. There are various challenging. It could be that, the parents or the schools may not be willing to, let them out, and other factors involved. So what are some of the common barriers that you faced working with individuals with disabilities, and how, as an educator, do you address these challenges? Anand, since you ended, maybe I'll ask you to go with it first. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think one has to, as an educator, I also realize that, abilities are different for different people. Some people are visual, some people are numerical, some people are verbose. So, using only one medium, we use a lot of rote learning through memory. So sometimes, doing crosswords, some people are very good at and fast at crosswords. There are some who struggle. They can't seem to imagine how do you fill these words in? But art, I think art is one universal activity with children, as you mentioned, and we use a lot of art. And art can be in multiple forms. You can start with just giving them like a number by color, a color by number kind of sheet, and a drawing of birds and where they are. And we have a sheet like that where a kingfisher is next to a stream or water. There is a tailor bird near an urban garden or something else, like a let's say a crested serpent eagle, which is overlooking a forest, and there is some snake or something. So you can create these things, and you give them bird books or you give them cards, and they can color that. And starting from there, the more evolved activities like you take, where you observe and then through memory you draw. So even kids who are not good at the scientific facts and other things, don't keep science as the learning mechanism always. Science is one way. Storytelling, after you've come back, sharing and narrating, like, whatever your story as to what you felt. I had shown some cartoon films to a bunch of, deaf children in Odisha. There's a deaf boarding school that a friend runs over there next to Mahanadi, Shibaji Panda, who runs it. And I had taken a film which had just sound, which didn't have words. So they saw it. It was a Walt Disney film, and they saw it. And then they stood up and they explained as to how fire is a threat to the forest. So also theater, using theater as a form of expression and learning, both. Miming, theater, these could be very good ways. I've worked with children who have, various developmental bodily developmental issues. So there again, these children like doing waves and, flying like a bird or a butterfly. They could differentiate between a kite soaring versus a kestrel hovering. When I use the word, like when we did hovering 5 times, and then when I said hovering, they actually did just that. But when I said soaring, they could also do the side body movements. So, and flying or flapping or diving, then they would do this, for a kingfisher. So when you associate words, so in teachers who work with children who have special needs, there's something called wow words. These are just 200 odd words, which can be used if you don't know a language also. You can just use these words, you forget the grammar, you forget the gender parts of it. And I, water, give, things like that, basic functional words which are there that can be used, basic verbs which can be used, and you can communicate with the child. So I do that. I speak 5 languages, but when I have other languages that I don't know, I use these kind of wow word formats, which can be, very facilitating. So binoculars, spotting scopes, books, cards, these are materials that can be used by educators, and not having these in multiple languages are some of the challenges. That every learning child doesn't have a binocular to watch birds, or you don't have a spotting scope to show flamingos which are far away. So then we borrow it from friends, or we invite those friends to come and become volunteers for us. So like here you can see that we have like a spotting scope. Now I don't own a spotting scope, but then Rujita and others who have that, Ameya, we call them, ask them to be co-educators with us. But the bird books, like the Grimmett, which is very complicated, then if we have simpler birds, we use the early bird flashcards. So you can use multiple material that is there to show that, and they're strong and, well laminated, so they can be handled by 100 kids and yet won't get spoiled. So that's some of the things, and you should always first communicate with the teacher, or if they have a special educator, start off with them. Don't straight away go to an unknown audience. So a little bit of preparation is needed to start off, and involve the teachers in the co-education process. The teacher also becomes very adept then at facilitating nature. So these are some of the things I'd like to start off with.
Thanks, Anand. Sapta, coming to you, Anand, you also, in fact, I wanted to later ask about the tools that you all use in your education programs, but you did mention a few. But Sapta, coming back to you, again, what are some of the challenges that you face, and how do you overcome these challenges?
Yeah. Abhishek, to your question, like coming back to working with the visually challenged or impaired kids, it's very important to first understand what their mind works like to some extent. So every time we come up with such challenges, we need to meet the educators. As Anand said, the teachers who are already teaching these kids or who are with them, first we need to gain their confidence. We need to visit them, tell them what we do and how we go about it. Especially with visually challenged kids, we need to make sure the place where we take them should be safe. So the first basic thing is the preparation for everything, and the homework should be done perfectly here. It's not like a normal people you're taking there. The area, the site where we go needs to be clear, and we need to know the limits to what extent we can push these kids, because they are in an alien world already and we are taking them to a new world. So what I do is, like, whenever I visit a visually challenged school or anything to take up nature walks or bird watching, so what I do is initially we do it in their school premises. So just to take them around the school, find if they can see some birds, hear them, and do such things in the school. Then talk to the teachers more and more, understand what is the limitations they have and to how far we can push it. So in fact, I had to go and consult an ophthalmologist, who was in fact a doctor woman. My brother-in-law is an ophthalmologist. So went there, understood what these students are like and how we can approach them differently, how to make them feel comfortable. So the point is, we need to make them feel comfortable, and to make them, when we make them comfortable, they are confident. So the confidence is what we need to gain from them first. So once we do that, half of the thing is done. The rest of the thing is how you take them, how we use the tools. Like Anand was mentioning, a lot of tools are there, but when it comes to visually challenged, it's all about audible, and the sensitization of touch or sense of touch. So these things I prepare in before getting into such activities. Like I said, I try to make a story of every walk. So if I'm like going to a bird walk and I know there are certain species present there, so I try to build a story around that and first converse with them day before I take them to the walk. So it will be 2 sessions always. First, you have to go do it audially and then take them to the ground. These are some of the preparations which we need to do before taking up anything with the challenged, visually challenged kids, because I more work with them than the other kids. So apart from that, I think Anand has covered most of the things which I was thinking to tell you. And yeah, it's again the parents. So the parents, we need to convince the parents. But since we work with schools and more of the organizations, so it's easier for me to go just speak to the organizations, convince them and take them out. But if you're taking them individually and doing it at an individual level, then convincing the parents and taking their confidence will be the utmost thing to do. I think these are a few things which we need to take care. And on the field, we need to be very careful and make sure where to take them and how to go about this whole process. So it's about knowing the places where we need to stop and make the kids understand or hear the calls. That preparation is also very important. We just can't take them here and stand them there. So it's also to do with how we know the locality before we take the kids there. So this is how I prepare for my this thing.
Thanks, Sapta. I'm also noticing that some of you are sharing resources and your experiences in the chat box. And Raja Bandi, thanks for sharing this website where people can access some ideas and activities to work with children with special needs. Coming to Aarti, again for you, because you are a special educator and your challenges might be a bit different compared to Sapta and Anand, because you are full-time into this. So we would like to hear from you about your challenges and how you managed to address them.
When I work with a disability, the first challenge in the school level, I found that people are very convinced they can't do it. The first time they were attitude like they can't do it. So what equal opportunity, equal rights wali jo baat aati hai, somewhere down the line missing. We talk about a lot. This thing happened, this can we do. But when it's come to we work in a school premises, a school authority, they are always not agree with this. Like they are ready to involve children in school with disability, but still they are not able to get what actually we believe, right education, right to act, right to equal opportunity. We are not able to get it because somewhere the attitude is there, a negative attitude. Because I've met so many people or who are the principals of schools, and they have attitude like they say, you know, the children with special needs, they should go to special school. And I really shocked that time, like, yeah, that school principal, their national education policy 2020, they all talk about like inclusive education where all children with disability and without disability can learn together. But I really feel sad when I get this kind of attitudes from the people. So like my child with disability might not able to complete a whole book like other children get, but we can divide the chapters. Like if one term cover 4 chapter, we can give a target of 2 chapters and ask them teacher and educator that make them adapt and make them so they can modify, so they can learn. So that one is a dignity, like we are getting education in school with the same syllabus and same pattern. It just we have a modification, we have adaptation, which is we always like hum baste rehte hain, concept hai hum hamesha baste rehte hain. So like I experienced 2 kind of like, and when I work in NGOs, we want every single thing we can try, like learning by doing, learning by experience, theater, dance, art, education, all things be involved. But when we go to school, it's a different kind of setup. They follow a very rigid idea. because it is my experience, because I start working since 1 year. So somehow still I'm thinking that school is the place where I can work or not. So this kind of dilemma I have still, because I really enjoy where I work with the organization. Like they are full of freedom. We work for the rights. We educate actually children with disability. They have a right for equal opportunity. So we are focused for that only. But still the children are not able to get the equal opportunity here. And first, these are challenge of like attitude, and also like subject. When we talk about subject, like we used to fail in all subject. Like we are not perfectly fine, perfect. Nobody is like that. But हम उसे exclude कर देते हैं पहले वही opportunity देने से पहले ही हम उसे exclude कर देते हैं. We want inclusion, but our mind is ready to exclusion. So somewhere it's a big challenge for everyone कि हम अपने आप को हमने exclude कर रखा है. हम सिर्फ इंक्लूजन चाहते हैं. राइट टू एजुकेशन आ चुका है, RPW एक्ट आ चुका है जो पूरी बात करता है कि हमें राइट, एवरी चाइल्ड हैव अ राइट to get education in the same premises, same thing, but still somewhere down we are not ready, and we are still fighting with a lot of things like they get school or not. Children get denied for the admissions. We still fight to like give them admission. It's a right of every child, whether disability or non-disability. And when we call out child with disability, because for child I prefer, because my child is my priority. And after this thing, so हमें एक होता है UDL, universal design of learning. We should follow this pattern कि like if we have a books, make them visual learning books, make them audible like a metro. It's accessible everyone, no matter if they are children with disability or not, person with disability, accessible. So why are we not making this kind of infrastructure? Like abhi recently the survey is going on like how schools are accessible, and we found a lot of schools are not accessible. There's no lift, no ramp, there's no syllabus, there's no book, like a braille books are not there, there's no large print books are there. So why? Because we don't want, हम अपनी जो एक जिम्मेदारी या रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है भी बचते रहते हैं कि हमें चल रहा है, चलने दो यार, हो जाएगा कैसे भी. तो वो कहीं ना कहीं हमें अपने ब्रेन से उठाना है. और लोगों को लगता है बहुत कुछ किसी के लिए, नो, इट्स अ राइट ऑफ चाइल्ड. आप कुछ एक्स्ट्रा नहीं कर रहे हैं, आपको फंड दिया जा रहा है, यू हैव टू डू इट फॉर चिल्ड्रन विद डिसेबिलिटी, जिनका वो राइट्स है. और अगर आप ये नहीं कर रहे तो आप उनके राइट्स को हर्न कर रहे हैं. तो वो चीज हमें लोगों को एजुकेट करने की बहुत जरूरत है. एंड इट्स विल कम लाइक फर्स्ट, लाइक हमें स्कूल प्रिंसिपल्स को ट्रेन करना चाहिए, HODs को ट्रेन करना चाहिए, एंड ऑल आर पीपल जो स्कूल प्रेमिसेस में वर्क करते हैं, मैनेजमेंट होते हैं, उन सबको हमें एजुकेट करने की जरूरत है कि हाउ विल मेक मोर एक्सेसिबल स्कूल in terms of all way, whether sports facilities, whether art culture activities going on in school, how you can involve, not just exclude them. Or the children with disability can do theater, they can do all things. अगर हम right opportunity दें और right हम खुद opportunity create करते हैं then, और like हमें हर चीज खुद करके नहीं देना. We have to make them learning by doing, because all we learn like this in our life. Science, we used to exclude science for people with a intellectual disability, and also learning depends on like what level of a disability is there. I understand that, but we can't make them learn whole book of science, but we can adapt, because science is about practical and we learn by the practical thing only. So rather than exclude the syllabus, make them learn, make them experience how they can learn also, because that is what I believe.
Thanks, Aarti. I mean, hearing to the three of you, I mean, yeah, definitely there's just so many challenges. It's not just about, thinking and coming up with ideas of how to engage with children, but also to convince parents, to convince school authorities to change the system. I mean, there's just so many things to think about. And I mean, your work is really inspirational, because you people are still going ahead with what you really love to do. So you did mention of different ways of engagement with kids, whether you using theater or arts, and also in the conversation there were also other equipments that were mentioned, like Anand spoke about using spotting scopes, and there were also like using flashcards. So are there any other, just to add some more resources to this, because there are many educators here who might want to work with children with special needs. So are there any specific tools apart from what you already mentioned, tools or resources or technologies that have really proved helpful in enhancing the accessibility and inclusivity of bird watching experiences for individuals with disabilities. I mean, I open this question to all three of you and also the other educators who are present here. It would be nice to hear if there are any specific tools or resources that have helped you.
If I can start off this one.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the experiences, I used to work for a short time with the Bronx Zoo in New York. And one of the things that they did was, as Sapta also mentioned, touch tables. So they had, of course, they are, I think, 100 years ahead of us in their education and outreach materials. So they had dummy models made of plastic of, let's say, skulls of owls or artificial eggs, and other things that were kept so that people could touch them, feel their weight. They were sort of fake replicas of the original, but they were exactly the same color, texture, smell, everything of the original. So there you could show them how the structure of an owl's head, how big the eyes are, versus, let's say, so a diurnal bird versus a nocturnal bird. One could sort of show those kind of things, and people could actually lift them and then see the bone structure as to how light a bird's skeleton can be. So those kind of things help them understand scientific facts that are there, claws and talons which are there, the size, various bird claws which were there, right from a pipit to a fishing eagle. So they could feel that, the sharpness, etc. So they had created replicas and touch tables, which used to be regularly shared. Whenever they had bird workshops, they used to have feathers of different kinds. And then films, which are there. I think there is a whole bunch of resources which are there, but apps and websites. I think the whole India biodiversity apps that are there, websites which are there with birds, butterflies, moths. A lot of visuals are helping people identify and learn. And 𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀 which is a bird sound app website which is there. From there, people can learn about sounds of birds and compare them with that. Besides that, I think for blind people, it's a little difficult because yet Braille books are not so common for nature. But I've seen museums, and now the Indian Railway, for example, has made all signages with Braille on them. So we are trying to talk to the Bombay Zoo to start off a Braille sort of touched boards where they can have information about species put out on that. Sound for birds, Isha, what I mentioned was 𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀, 𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃. Yeah. Over to you, Aarti and Sapta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with Anand. I think that is a few things which we can see already. The thing like we were discussing, Anand, even in the preliminary talk, like if somebody can come out and give us the outlines of the birds in the similar to the Braille writings, that would be amazing. And once we can give the structures, that would be very easy. Like pocket guides, we can carry and just tell them and give an idea as to how a bird actually looks and what is the size and shapes are. So yeah, like we need to actually explore a lot of things, and we need to experiment a lot of things. We need to start evolving in bringing in such new things. So I think birding buddies are doing amazing with the kind of posters and literature they're bringing. Probably, I think Abhishek should be thinking in these lines already. So we definitely will support you in this, and probably we all should work together and try to bring out such things for the challenged kids and make their experience more better and make them like wanting to do it more and more. So they have to start voluntarily coming out. So they are not exposed to such things like the commons. But with the new horizon and the new hope we have, I think we can start instigating their minds in this field, and I'm sure they're going to come out very well. So since I've worked with these kids, I feel, yeah, the embossed birdings and like we have taken them to Naturalistic Museum, wherein we already have these samples which Anand was talking about, the feel and touch, and that is actually the way to go. we need to have a lot of them. So let's hope we can work on these things, and with the new technology, I think it won't be that difficult to start getting these stuffed animals and birds, wherein we can have it in every schools. We can encourage the teachers to have them and start off with these birdings in their school itself, so that we can also go and speak to them and consistently work together and come out with a better perspective there.
Thanks, Sapta. I just have a small announcement to make because it's already 12:08. We can continue this session for another 10 minutes if that's all right, because we are in the middle of a very interesting conversation. But for those of you who want to leave, we have a feedback form. It will hardly take you 5 minutes. Please do fill the feedback form. And we also have a survey form, a survey for educators, because this survey will really help us identify gaps in bird education and also understand the need of nature educators. So Amrita will share the link. So please do take this survey whenever you can, but please do share your feedback for this session before you leave. Yeah, coming back to this conversation, Aarti, do you have any particular tools or resources that you use?
Yeah, like resources and development, like as a special educator, we like practice, we actually made all the resources from the waste material and whatever we have at home. Like if I want to teach something, my child, like a word, and we can cutting the pictures from a newspaper. A newspaper, a learning tool for like a lot of things. If I want to teach any child, like I highlighted words, with the highlighted words, I can take the pictures, I can make learn some kind of picture. If अगर हम बार-बार pictures को बार-बार दिखाएंगे, तो they can identify. प्लस हमारे पास डिजिटल टूल, एनिमेटेड टूल हो सकते हैं जिन्हें हम खुद क्रिएट कर सकते हैं, जहाँ पे एनिमेटेड टूल में हम साउंड भी दे रहे हैं, टेक्स्ट भी दे रहे हैं, तो वो ऑल सबके लिए एक्सेसिबल होगा, एक यूडीएल हो जाता है कि हाँ एवरीवन कैन एक्सेस द टूल्स. प्लस नेचर साउंड्स को रिकॉर्ड करके दे सकते हैं, सो दे कैन लर्न हाउ टू डिस्क्रिमिनेट डिफरेंट साउंड, डिफरेंट वर्ड्स, एंड हाउ लाइक एवरी वर्ड हैव अ डिफरेंट साउंड. तो वो डिस्क्रिमिनेट करने के लिए भी और एक लर्निंग प्रोसेस भी हो सकता है कि हाँ वो बार बार उन साउंड को सुनते हैं, so they can learn also. Rest of like we nowadays like want to adapt, हमें books को adapt भी करना चाहिए कि अगर कोई tactile materials हो गया जो कि children with disability या visual disability के लिए हम बना सकते हैं, use कर सकते हैं. अगर ज्यादा pictures और ये हमें कुछ नहीं करना, thread से उसको tactile बनाना है, so they can touch and feel, because all while learning was like हमें जब भी कोई भी tool visual disability के लिए convert करना था, तो we used to make a tactile and emboss so they can touch and feel. So that is a whole basic learning. Other than we can use the pictures, we can use and involve the pictures also, that can be helped. So yeah, these are the basic learning process of learning resources that we used to work. And then assistive technology is there, like there's a like computer software there that can help visual disabled people, and also to other disability also, like visual disability, like assistive technology is helpful for everyone. So we can involve those technology in our teaching learning process. Yeah.
Thanks, Aarti. Actually, since you all mentioned about tactile and embossing, I think I would like to share an example here that was shared by Garima, one of our colleagues from Early Bird. Garima, would you like to, since you're here, would you like to share about what you saw? And Amrita, if you can share the pictures. I'm not sure. Okay, 1 second to unmute Garima.
Garima is saying she can't unmute herself.
Yeah. Amrita, can you unmute Garima?
I have. Garima, can you please try now?
Okay, maybe I'll just go ahead and share since we don't want to waste more time. So basically, these are some pictures that Garima had taken in Colombia, and this is from a visitor center that was part of a restoration effort in a village. And so here you can see that the bird names are also mentioned in Braille, as well as the outlines of the bird and the eyes and color pattern and the wing pattern. They're all they're tactile, and then the birds themselves are embossed. So these are just a sample photograph to show what the three panelists were mentioning about embossed birds and tactile experiences. Thanks. So actually, there's a lot more to discuss on this topic, but maybe since we're also running out of time, maybe we can, I'll just take one question that is by Raja, he had mentioned in the chat, but I think it would also be nice to have a follow-up session on this, because there's just too many things that we need to learn from each other. So Raja, would you like to ask the question yourself, if we can unmute you?
Hi, Abhisheka. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity, and it's nice to listen to all the experiences. And yeah, so my question is about working with the parents of the kids with the special needs. So I know as the educators, we get only little time to work with kids, maybe once in a month or once in a week, something like that. But if we can turn the parents into one more Anand or one more Aarti, something like that, it makes a lot of difference for the children. So I just want to know the experiences of you, like if any one of you have worked with the parents groups, along with the children, took parents and the children together for a walk, and how good were the parents, and what is the response and all these things. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Abhishek.
Abhishek, I'll jump in.
Yes, please, Anand, go ahead.
Yeah. So, so quickly, Raja, two things here. I work a lot with teachers. Actually, I work more with teachers and a little less with children. I prefer working with educators and parents, as you said. So in the COVID lockdown period, we had designed a lot of online learning modules that were there. And one of the parents reached out to us and she said, Anand, this is the first time my son has 𝗔𝗯cie syndrome and he's completely wheelchair bound and he can't go outside anywhere. And your course is the first one which is designed within the limits of a house. My son can go only to the window or the balcony. And because it was lockdown period, the observations that we designed for observing a bird, or, it was a bird-based course. So they had to observe local birds sitting through the window or their, wheelchair. So getting this feedback, and then a lot of such things happened. Right in the beginning, also, we had a Kids for Cool Karma program where a child had ADHD and some learning, disabilities. And the mother worked with us as to, especially these, aspects of wow words, etc., which came from the mother. She said that I'm working for the learning needs of my child. But these are some of the feedback that we are giving you, and you should, incorporate that into your nature education. So this two-way process that is there. But whenever I'm working with teachers, I definitely have sessions where I tell them, in this session, you cannot use any words or no language. You can't use English, you can't use words. Whatever you're showing, either it has to be through the cards or through actions. So then when you're, even if you don't know sign language, if you're a natural signer, or if you're working with deaf children, or somebody who I was in West Bengal where I knew a little bit of Bengali, but largely through some of my, basic words and some actions that, okay, now food and now sleep. And, whatever you do, then you can communicate that to the person, and language does not become a barrier for learning. So that is what, so we always create the typical, we use the word handicap, where in this case, only sounds. We do a sound off exercise, generally icebreakers is where we don't use. So tring, 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 you create those sounds and people can then identify you're talking of a bell or, whatever. So that kind of thing. So there are some sessions where we don't use words, where we don't use such materials. And we tell the teachers that there is a special school in Pune called Aksharnandan, started by the daughter of 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗂𝗍𝗃 Narlikar, the big science geek. So there they have children of all abilities in the same school, and I think I promote that very strongly. We should not have separate schools. Every child should start understanding that how can I facilitate and become a facilitator to each other. The teachers also become, all teachers should get special needs training. All teachers should get sign language training as a part of their B.Ed. In fact, sign language should probably become the national language of India. Because it will unify everybody, will become more silent and more peaceful, especially when you're doing bird watching. We do sign and say there, we don't talk. So it really helps you to calm down, to become silent, and in public areas, etc., you can yet communicate with her. So I think it will, if we have certain of these special learning techniques that are taught to all teachers, to all parents, I think as a part of parenting, this should be taught to everybody, and it will help, because somewhere or the other the child will stumble in learning. Somebody might be having problems with maths or sciences, and you can use these breaking some of these things down into parts, into activities and workshops. I think Aarti can and Sapta can add some more and much more than this.
Hi. Yes, while I'm working with children with disability, it's equally important, like work with the parents and family. And it is my favorite topic always. Like we don't focus on children with disability, everything we are doing, but we are not focusing somewhere at parents, because when child with disability come out, there's a lot of things that parents also struggle. Like their mental health is there. And when disability come out, so there's stages to acceptance, denial, a lot of things are there. So before we going to work with the children, we should empower the family first. So I already in year 2020, I asked my founder, like, ma'am, I just want to one exposure visit for the parents with children with disability, where all children with disability mother can come together and they can discuss each other and talk about each other, their children also, what's going on with them, and how their mental health also, because they are always busy working at home, and a lot of things are like not only one taking care of the children and also, so they don't get time for herself to like they are something. So वहाँ पे exposure visit हमने organize किया था, and then given them time to think about and think you are the kid. आप उस condition में हो, उस time imagine करो and just think about yourself. So I found that women are discussing each other about their children, and they just it's always like एक अगर कोई बच्चा बहुत अच्छा कर रहा है, तो वो अगर वो story mom किसी और को बताती है, तो she always get motivated. Okay, if he can do it, तो my child also can do it. तो एक possibility आती है better करने के लिए. तो अगर हम स्कूल में बच्चे के साथ कोई भी काम कर रहे हैं, वी हैव टू जस्ट टेल द मदर कि हाँ हमें ऐसे करवाना है, क्योंकि एम्पावरमेंट वहां से आएगी. हमारे पास बच्चे कितनी देर के लिए होता है, इट्स लाइक 4 hours 8 hours more than not that. After the time spent by the family, अगर family empower होगी तो they can work better. Like अभी रिसेंटली एक गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में जब दिल्ली में एक बुक आई थी, कोविड के टाइम पे सक्षम है समझ करके एक बुक बनाई गई थी. अगर आप वहाँ की एक्टिविटी देखोगे तो दे ऑलरेडी से दैट कि सब काम मदर को करवाना है घर पे. सारा जो प्रेशर है वो ओवरऑल मदर के ऊपर आ रहा था, एंड टीचर्स आर नॉट डूइंग दैट देयर जॉब. एंड आई फाउंड दैट बुक्स आर नॉट दैट लेवल. आप बोल रहे हो कलर करवाओ, मटर को छीलना है. इट वाज लाइक माय 9th standard boy's child with disability, why is just doing a coloring or just मटर को क्यों करना है. we should focus something like जो उसको आगे हेल्प करे, लाइवलीहुड को हेल्प करे, so that we हमें जब रिसोर्सेज डेवलप करते हैं तो वी यूज्ड टू थिंक लाइक मोर. हमारी एक्सपेक्टेशन हाई होनी चाहिए कि हाँ they can do it this also, not just like out of the box. We need to think, or we need to involve parents in it. Whatever the idea plan is going to happen, we should involve that, and not like एक प्रेशर नहीं होना चाहिए पेरेंट्स के लिए कि हम मदर हमने बोल दिया हमें ये एक्टिविटी करानी है, बच्चे को ये गोल्स हमारा है, आपको करवाना है. लेकिन जब तक मदर की मेंटल हेल्थ कंडीशन इज नॉट गुड, how we can achieve the goal? As an educator, we can't just in a 4 hours duration, we can't achieve the goal unless we don't involve the family. So it's always whatever the family, we should make a plan for family as well while we work with children with disability. So that is what actually we need.
Sapta, do you have anything to add?
Nothing much to add, Abhisheka. They have covered most. Like what I believe is the parents with the disability kids are always, already there doing certain things. Now that we are taking them into a new field, probably what I got a few responses from the parents was when we take them to a nature walk or a bird watching or within the campus also when we did it, the sense I felt was the parents were happy that the kids are happy. So it's also to do that we need to understand the kids are happy with nature again, with all their disabilities they enjoy. They are more like patient and more listening to what we are doing. And one or two parents have approached me and have also asked me if they can learn birding. So that is the thing which we want. Basically, we need to get the parents onto the field. So these things, like Anand and Aarti have already said, we need to actually broaden up our base and start working with both. Since already parents are involved with a lot of things, they're struggling to get their kid into the mainstream. The survival part is always running behind their head throughout. So if we can give them a solace in the form of nature activity, they also enjoy, and it works both ways, I guess.
Thanks. Thanks, Raja, for asking this important question and the three of you to share your thoughts about it. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I must say that, we've actually, just touched the surface of this topic. There's a lot more to discuss and learn from each other and see how we can all collaborate. So we definitely will want to have a continuing session on the same topic, but today, unfortunately, we have to close down. So like I mentioned, please share your feedback on this topic, and also there's a survey for educators that you can take up. And Amrita has also shared social media links to early birds so that you can, keep an eye for the next birding buddy session. And thanks so much, Anand, Aarti, and Sapta. It was really, really wonderful listening to your experiences. Over to you, Amrita, to share whatever other information that's required. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and the panelists here and Abhisheka for moderating the session. Like Abhisheka already mentioned, I have shared the social media links and the feedback form and the survey link as well. So please do, you can copy it from the chat and save it, and try and the survey link, you can fill it in later as well. But do make sure that after the session, you take out few minutes and fill the feedback form so that we keep doing better with conducting these sessions. So looking forward, we'll have this session. We have these sessions bi-monthly, so the next session would be in October. So look forward to that as well.
And Sapta, Aarti, and Anand, if you want to, leave your contact details for people to interact with you directly, you could do that too. Otherwise, yes, maybe in the next session, we'll have much more to discuss. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And we'll be sharing this session will be up on our YouTube channel, and you can go back to it whenever you want to. And in the descriptions, we'll have all the relevant links that were shared, resources and things that were shared during the session. We'll be putting it up in the YouTube description, so you can check it up. Check those are there as well.
Any parting thoughts from the three of you before we just close down the session?
I think
I have one thing to share, that during the lockdown, we had also created an audio book. Educator, nature educator in Andamans, 𝗷𝗯cie𝘂𝘁𝘁 he had written a book called My Friend Dugong, which was actually earlier written in Bengali, then made into English. And then we had the time, and a friend recorded it. We did an audio, a recording, and edited it, put sound, and created an audio book, and it's on Spotify. So that's available, for teachers who are working with blind children to use. So that's there on Spotify. It's a free book that is there. The whole project was done completely free. There was zero cost involved in it. So please use that book and share us your experiences as to about the audiobook. And I think more audiobooks should be created.
Thanks,
And
Anand.
thank you for doing this session.
Aarti and Sapta, do you have any parting thoughts?
Nothing much. I think we should have to meet more frequently. More ideas would come. We should transfer this whole thing into workable conditions for the kids. So that would be the ultimate goal of having such sessions.
I would say thank you, like Marissa session. Like I also, it's my learning process. Like it's my beginning of learning, being an educator like this, and people are working from so many years. So yeah, I always keen to learn from all of the other people experience. And yeah, I just want to like all the child with disability get equal right, equal opportunity, and so they access all the things they like everyone else. So that is my goal, and through all the listening of the people, I maybe work on it.
Definitely, Aarti. I think the goal of this session was also that. And hopefully there will be much more collaborations between nature educators, nature enthusiasts, and those working with differently abled children. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.